Super Supportive by Sleyca. Chapter 246, Baby Blue. Rapport 1's time wasn't very different from Isidora's on that Wednesday, so Alden arrived at the school not long after nightfall. He appeared in the educational summonarium, with its map of the building, the arrival board overhead, and the description written on the floor beside the summoning areas. The student benches along the long wall of windows were empty, but Relart stood in front of them. The knight was in a grey uniform, his long black hair kept out of his face by the two jewelled clips he'd worn every time Alden had seen him so far. Tion Relart. Rel had given him permission to use casual address when they were both at the sibling hold, but not elsewhere. Alden thought the formal came more naturally in this case anyway. He'd almost worn one of his pezivas, like social armor, but since the reason he was here tonight was to spend time with a big, drooly bison vark, he'd left both vests in the suitcase that Artonin was looking at. Thank you for thinking of me before sending the Bokobov back. Bokobovs. You're the reason I acquired them. The students have enjoyed having the mother animal on the grounds, and every year group took turns observing the new life today. Many have benefited. Do you need to carry your bags with you, or would you prefer to leave them here? I'll carry them. One of them likes me, and the other has my learning cushion in it. Do you want food or a drink? No, I've brought some with me for later. Will something else assist you with your study? Alden was reminded of the string of questions and instructions this man had hit him with before he left for his first visit to see Yenopezith. I can't think of anything else that I need. Relart looked him over like he was trying to find something to fix, then said, Come with me. Alden knew the way, but he wasn't going to tell a knight how to host him. They left the summonarium and followed the same route he'd taken with Stuart on his previous 2 trips. This was a school night instead of a weekend, and there were students out on the large courtyard at the back of the main building. 3 of them were standing with their arms outstretched toward each other, forming a triangle shape as they looked up at a 4th who was rising swiftly into the air. That's Quineth. She was in a casual tunic instead of her votary garb, and her pale hair was down, although a down was technically up right now because it was leading the way into the sky, like it had gotten the lift from the spell before the rest of her. She waved at a couple of people passing from the upper floors of the student house as she passed. There were lanterns in the courtyard, but she was swiftly moving beyond the reach of their light. Relart paused to watch the students, or he paused to watch Alden watching the students. Alden wasn't sure which of them had stopped first. Isn't she going too high? Of course, if she was, Relart would say something instead of letting her fall to her death. Right? Alden wondered if she'd shared her honey, or if she was keeping it beside her vanilla candle. She's very high, he said finally. Yes, they've done the spell well. Okay, it's only me worried about her going splat. They left before the students noticed them, and started down the long staircase set into the steep terrain, the steps ahead of them glowing to light their way and then fading behind them. Were you worried the students here would open your bag if you left it behind? Normally I would defend their manners, but it's so obviously from another world and so interestingly repaired that I think a few of the more curious ones might have been unable to resist if they'd found it. None of them would have damaged your belongings or the learning cushion my brother gave you, though. Alden stopped. Does he have X-ray vision? Did he read my mind? Oh shit, he does do something telepathic. What if... Relart looked back. Are you coming? Yes. It wasn't a confident yes, but his feet started moving again. How did you... My learning cushion is in my bag. How did you know that? I use my learning cushion to study things that aren't spell books. I don't even know what spell books are. Science, engaging with the unexpected, intro to other worlds, boring, ordinary. Evil was teasing Stu about having a second human over every time you come, since the luggage is so large. He told us you take the cushion with you everywhere. Rather proudly. Oh, thank you, God. I'm not good enough to avoid thinking wizard thoughts while I'm talking about my wizard cushion. I don't carry it everywhere, but I have been carrying it anywhere I think I might have plenty of time to study. I'm glad you value my brother's gift. I hope you also value the amount of time he finds to spend with you. I thought I was going to have to travel to Leafsong and use a kind of spell-resistant glue to stick him to his own cushion. He wanted to skip this evening's special lecture when he found out you were coming here. Alden had texted Stuart to let him know Relart had invited him. I do value his time, very much. Did he bring it up because he had the impression that Alden didn't? It is not my intention to suggest you do not. And now I'm back to thinking he's reading my mind. Hello? You'd tell me if all my secrets were flowing directly into Relart's head, wouldn't you? The text he sent to no one received a single word in reply. Haha! She's laughing at me. That means I'm safe? Laughing at his worries about this, at least, would be out of character. In the coming years, Stu will be busier. Once he's settled into his path, your lives will diverge more. That was my meaning. They're already so different, nobody takes either of us very seriously when we say we're friends. Soon friends. Relart's steps slowed. I believe most members of our family now understand that Stu's wanting of a friendship with you is very serious to him. If they also have concerns about the difficulties of such a friendship, those are their feelings to manage, not something you or my brother should consider much. Alden was surprised to hear him say that. He'd assumed Relart would be someone who thought a wizard and an avowed being friends was too impractical. He'd been the one to ask Stuart about whether he'd had Alden swear to privacy of the house, which didn't mean anything now that Alden considered it, except that Relart was someone used to making sure others had their business in order, and he was familiar enough with Stuart to know he might not have treated the human visitor the way everyone else thought he should have. He isn't exactly saying he approves, though. More like, don't worry about what's going on in other people's heads when you've got your own thing going on? Maybe? Alden liked that advice, so he was going to take it that way. It's unfortunate you overheard some of our parents discussing the relationship you two are developing as if it might exist for their advantage. You know about that? Relart sighed. Stu wanted me not to join in plots again, warned me not to join in plots against you when I spoke to him this afternoon, so I asked him why he thought there were any plots against you. That's one way to handle it, Stuart. Just directly tell any family member that's going to spend more than a couple of minutes alone with me that you suspect them of plotting. I would ask you to excuse the one who suggested the idea, but I can't think of any reason why you should. I'm not sure which of your parents suggested using me to change Stu's mind, Alden said cautiously. I didn't recognize their voice, but I understand they're all trying to take care of him in their way. Their way shouldn't involve a young guest, an alien, or a person whose healing we've helped to arrange. And it was Ameg who wanted to manipulate you, according to Stu. He has likely been persuaded toward more moderate behavior by the others since then. Relart paused on their next step and pointed up at the sky. The night was clear and full of stars. Does your culture observe stars as constellations? I've heard humans do. Alden stopped beside him. We do. I know how to identify some on Earth, as individual pictures, though not a sky story. One of the sky stories from this part of the world starts with that red star. It's the first spark of fire made by the first wizard. She's on her hands and knees beside it. And from there the story is told in this shape. His fingers wove through the air. About how she almost burned her home forest down and had to learn to be careful with her power. And then, starting from over there, is the second story about how she persuaded the people of the forest to trust her again, so that she can help them with her magic. I'll send them to you. If you're visiting us, you may enjoy learning to read our sky. Do you think Stu can persuade your family to trust him, if he keeps trying? The man's brows rose, and he regarded Alden until Alden found himself resisting an urge to drop his gaze. I was trying to guide you away from the realm of our family's together life by changing the subject. I didn't expect you to hear a metaphor in my description of the second story. Sorry, it sounded like... Alden did look away. The Bolkabivs are over there. I'll just head in that direction. Stu speaks as though he has no doubts, doesn't he? Alden turned back to find Rel's expression a little sadder. I don't think he has any. You haven't known him very long. Or you see only half his truth. He has no doubts about what he wants, but he does doubt his ability to face it. It might be our fault. He built strength while we weren't watching. Perhaps it was real and it was enough. But when he showed it to us the first time, we told him it wasn't. And he hasn't been without doubt since then, no matter how much he refuses to acknowledge it. Then why are you all still... Why don't you support him now? Anger was stirring. He tamped it down. He'll die. Relart didn't say it with any anger of his own. You ask questions you can't understand the answers to. I give them to you because it's all right if you repeat them to Stu. It doesn't matter that it was the people he trusts the most who weakened his confidence. What matters is that it is weakened and we can't repair it for him. A loving lie is too fragile a patch for this, now that he's heard the truth. He has to find some way to shed his own doubt while enduring ours. If he can't do that, and he chooses to go to his first binding anyway, that's the outcome we must prevent. Alden's heart was starting to race. You're upset? He deserves better, Alden said. Rallard smiled faintly. I'm afraid to ask whether you mean he deserves better circumstances or better relatives. Whichever it is, it's fine for the ones he weaves friendship with to think it. But don't gnaw on it now. Let me turn your attention toward what you've come to see. The average lifespan of a Bokobov is 18 Artonian years. The calf will mature when he's around a year and a half old. In most herds, the lecture was more effective at taking the edge off Alden's mood than he would have expected, even though most of it was information he'd already learned. A few minutes later, they were both standing at the edge of the grass patch Stuart had grown for the animals. The interesting stick had been removed. Rellart said it was bad for the calf and might make him bond improperly with his mother. Instead, waist-high wooden panels had been set up to keep the little Bokobov in, which would also keep its mother where she belonged, even if she was large enough to jump them. Another instructor had cast a spell to concentrate the moon and starlight that fell on this area, solely for Alden's benefit, and a knight was explaining animal behavior to him so that he could safely enter the temporary pasture if he wanted to. Bokobovs were active whenever they felt like it, not taking Artonan days and nights into consideration. They were both lively right now. Alden was having a hard time catching more than a partial view of the calf, since he was under his mother, and they were standing in a mostly untrampled and uneaten area. She'd coated her offspring thoroughly with her bioluminescent saliva. He was a glowy little guy. How long can I spend here? Alden asked. Turning his thoughts from what Rel had said about Stuart to bison varks wasn't going to be an immediate shift. The herd keeper expects them to be sent back tomorrow morning. If you think you need more time than that for your mind healing, I can arrange for you to meet another animal. Alden shook his head. No, that's plenty of time. I'll be in my office for a while, said the knight. You should call if you have any questions or needs. Use the summonarium to travel to the sibling hold when you're ready. I will. I appreciate the effort you've made for me. Before you go, I do have a question about demons. I already know, I think, but I wanted to ask anyway. Rellart nodded. Ask. They should be treated the way a person would treat any other living creature, shouldn't they? An equally dangerous one. Alden took a breath. They can feel pain, they can struggle for their lives, they can be afraid. Some of them. I know they're not all the same, but if it's like that, and you treat them like something less real because of the chaos, that's not right. You've asked me a question that's best answered by yourself, Rellart said after a moment. I have killed few demons. My skill is for communication and assisting others. I have felt empathy for the things I've killed. Others who kill more sometimes protect themselves by feeling less. I understand them too. I see. It's personal and situational. That makes sense. Call if you want anything. Alden waited until the knight was on the stairs again to climb over the fencing and take his seat on the ground. Approaching on his own would make the mother Bokobov nervous, but Rellart had said the calf was curious and would eventually come over to see a newcomer on its own if they weren't too loud and active. With grass higher than his head, Alden couldn't see much. He waited, listening to the soft bleating noise the mother was making, almost like she was muttering to her baby, and the occasional thump of the heavy animal taking a step. The night smelled like grass and funky herd creatures. Alden waited almost half an hour for acknowledgement, but he had a lot on his mind, and it didn't feel so long. And the acknowledgement, when it came, was brilliant. A baby Bokobov barreled out of the grass right, waving its snout like, "Wow, company!" It smashed into him clumsily, then retreated like he was a scary monster who'd somehow forced it to fall all over him. It returned a minute later, only a tiny bit less excited than it had been on its first approach, and ran back and forth in front of him, glowing blue with fresh slobber from its mother. It had generously wiped some of that on Alden's chest when it hit him. The little animal seemed to be about 40 pounds of legs, snout, and enthusiasm. It ran at Alden again and then away before coming back, like it wanted him to play chase. "You're not going to do that," he said, laughing. "Maybe there will be friends for you when you meet your herd tomorrow." The calf stopped and stared at him for a few seconds, as if the sound of his voice needed thinking about, and then it ran right back and forth to being thrilled it was alive. Eventually, the mother Bokobov came over to see what was occupying her calf, and since Alden had been instructed not to distress her in any way, he held perfectly still while she got him back for dodging her tongue on the last visit. You have a real baby now. Lick him. Look at him. He needs you. Ugh. Okay, this is fine. It's probably... You have an unlimited supply of drool, don't you? She left him alone when the calf came over for a drink, and he made a slow escape back over the fence. You two aren't ever going to end up like that thing in my dreams, he said after watching them for a while longer. You're not allowed to. You only get to be normal, happy Bokobovs. Because I said so. He found the red star in the sky. Because I want it. Because I feel like screaming it at the universe until the universe listens. Maybe it wasn't strange that wizards could do magic. Maybe it was strange that everyone else couldn't. Right now, Alden almost believed he could cast protection over these two simple, peaceful lives just by flinging his authority at reality and demanding that it be so. He headed for the stairs inside, still hauling his suitcase. When he reached for the school, the students had all gone in for the night. But Stuart was popping out of the door to the seminarium like he was in a hurry to get somewhere. He halted at the sight of Alden and his mouth opened. I've been visiting the Bokobovs, Alden said when Stuart failed to speak. I would have known that even if no one told me. Is it because my hair is sticking up straight and glowing? That's one reason. Do you want to see them too? The baby's very glad to be here. It's nice. Later, in the cottage that looked out over the streamful of Zanzis, Alden lathered his hair and rinsed it 5 times before it finally stopped feeling slimy. When he got out of the bathroom, Stuart was sitting on the floor by the table, ready for their midnight snack. Thought I'd never get that stuff out of my hair. Sorry it took so long. He plopped down onto the cushion across the table from him. I want this yellow thing first. That's pineapple salsa, and you may taste everything in whatever order you like. Let me name them all for you. Alden plucked a corn chip out of the separate bag they were stored in. Tortilla chip. Tortilla chip, said Stuart. It's salty and crunchy. Alden pointed the chip at the meal prep container in front of them. Pineapple salsa. Guacamole. Beans. Don't send one through the walls with your spell. There's smoky and spicy. I don't know if you like spicy. And this is nacho cheese, but it's not really cheese. She makes it out of a bunch of different things. And this beautiful sweetbread over here is our cinnamon roll. Cinnamon roll. Stuart leaned over it. It smells good. It is good. Alden's mouth was watering. Stuart was watching the tortilla chip with great interest. I brought enough for us to do this twice, Alden said. Once tonight and once in the morning. He grinned. If we damage the pleasure centers of our brain like someone once suggested eating too much cook of the moment food might do to me, it's fine. Because we're both going to see Healer Yenu tomorrow. She can just repair us. Stuart returned his smile. That's a good plan. Isn't it? Come on, let's eat. Tidbits from Sleyca. Bisonvark. Bison plus aardvark. Bokobovs have a head that closely resembles an aardvark. Quinnyeth has a vanilla candle made from the wax of a bee. She's a young votary and current student at the rapport school, just old enough to access the top library. Most people her age haven't finished their choosing season, but Quinnyeth dove right in and said she'd be a votary because she wants to support Asay Tor, who plans to become a knight soon. Votary garb, worn for votary activities, not for regular classes at the school. Ameg, not previously named, one of the primary's spouses. Wow, company! I can confirm that this is what the baby Bokobov thought when it saw a human sitting there. Zan